Hey guys, Geoffrey here. So I'm really excited to show you this interview because this is actually the first interview that actually made me tear up in the middle of the interview. And Spencer here has such an incredible story where not only was he long distance, his wife had been stonewalling him, his wife had been just given up and given him no hope of ever reconciling. And they were thousands of miles apart. And he was able to create so much safety and utilize all the opportunities that he got that they reconciled within 5 months. And so his story here should show you that nothing is really impossible if you understand the right process. So I'm going to leave it to the interview here, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. This is going to be incredible, and I hope you stay for the whole thing, and especially towards the latter half where we actually go beyond talking about his situation and going into his story, the way he fought all odds to save his relationship. Hey guys, welcome to another episode where we join one of my clients again. And the reason why I'm doing this again is that the last conversation we had with Jason, you guys loved it. I mean, we had a lot of comments there, a lot of support there. So we thought we'd do another one. So here I have Spencer Wilson here with me, and Spencer is in Canada, and he joined my program about 5 months ago. And so see here, his story started off with him being in a position where his wife didn't even want to live with him in the same place, wanted nothing to do with him, wanted a divorce. Communication was very difficult. And it's to the point where he grew so massively that it was difficult for his wife to resist, really. And so we are going to talk about how he started, how his journey was like in the last 5 months or so, and where they are now as well. But Spencer, I guess I'll let you introduce yourself here a bit. If you could start here with what were things like in the beginning when you and I first met and spoke?
Right. Well, my name is Spence, and yeah, I was when I found you on YouTube, as many of your subscribers have found. I was really searching. I was pretty much rock bottom. My relationship was pretty much gone, and I wanted it back, and I had no idea how to do it. So I reached out to YouTube to try and find an avenue to rebuild my relationship. And so I'd been married for a couple of years. We lived in the Philippines together. I had a business. It crashed. I went into myself, and instead of working on the relationship, I really lost myself. Came back to Canada. I got a job that's very isolated, and I wanted my wife to come with me, but she refused. She stayed in town. I went away to work, and we had a long distance relationship for a while. In February of this year, I found out that she just wasn't interested anymore. It was a huge shock. I had no idea. I was blindsided by this. I was clueless as to what was happening. She talked divorce, she talked separation, she talked all these things, and I can't go to her because of where I am and the isolation and all this sort of thing. So it was difficult. The relationship degraded over a couple of months to the point where I found you on YouTube. So
Yeah.
at that point I was a bit of a wreck. Did everything wrong, everything.
Yeah. So when she told you that she wanted divorce and wanted to end the relationship, in what ways did she bring it? How did that come about? And what was her hesitations or her issues with the relationship at that point?
Well, like I say, I had no idea. Like I was absolutely clueless. And then in February, I wanted to surprise her for Valentine's Day by going back to town for a week and surprise her. I didn't tell her that I was doing this. I bought a flight. I bought like all these things. It was like a big surprise. And she looked at my credit card statements, saw this flight, was like, "What are you doing? What's going on?" And I was like, "Well, I was going to surprise you. I want to come see you." And up until that point, our relationship had been pretty much online, everything. And for me, everything was great. And then as soon as she found out I was coming to town, everything changed. She stopped texting me. She started being quiet. Phone calls were different. So I asked her, I'm like, is something going on? Like, what's happening?
Mm.
And she said, you shouldn't come. You shouldn't come here. I don't want to be with you anymore. I don't want this relationship anymore. I'm happy in town with you, not here.
Yeah. So it's probably been a problem then in your partner's mind for a while. And I think when you first asked her to move with you to your job, I think her no there was kind of a small seed of her not wanting the relationship or not wanting to fight for the relationship really. And I think when you decided to come back and she found out about that, that's when she says, oh,
Yeah, back up now.
yeah, back up
Yeah,
now.
I think so. I didn't see it. I didn't see any of it because I just when I said, well, come with, she was like, well, I have my job and I'm happy doing this. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. You know, you're making money. If you come with me, you're not really making money. It made sense. And I didn't even think any deeper
Yeah.
than that. I just was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like,
And that's an
sure.
interesting point because I think that's the hardest part about the lack of safety in a relationship, right? Because, and why a lot of men are so blindsided by the end of the relationship, because the very fact of lack of safety is that they will never tell you that they feel
Oh,
unsafe,
yeah.
right? So
Clearly
you,
she didn't feel that she could talk to me. And I found out later after I had started the program and I eventually did start talking to her, these problems weren't new. We've been together for 7 years and she started talking when we eventually did start talking again. She was talking about stuff that happened 4 or 5 years ago. So clearly in her mind, the progression of our relationship going downhill had been a long time coming. But for me, like I say, oblivious, like absolutely oblivious to all of it.
yeah. So when she told you that she wanted to end the relationship and you were so far away, you couldn't do anything about it. And you mentioned you made a ton of mistakes.
I
What
did
did you do?
everything wrong. I did
Tell the
everything wrong.
people what you did
I
here.
I begged, I pleaded, I said, I'll do anything. I said, don't leave me. I need you. I became the needy, like most attached, like, oh, it was sad. It was
Yeah.
sad. I
Yeah.
would
So it was
cry.
basically, yeah,
Like
it
I
was
say,
like
I did
trying to,
everything wrong.
basically, it was like trying to use logic to like convince her to stay. If that doesn't work,
Exactly.
you played the pity card. Did you also
Played
do the
pity, like you
active?
wouldn't believe.
Yeah. And I'm sure like a lot of people too, you also did the active form of that where we started to get pretty angry at our partner for not even wanting to try. How could you do this to me? Did you do that as well? Or was it more like the passive, needy, like, oh, come to me?
Yeah, I've never really been one prone to anger. I don't get
Mm.
angry very often. It's very difficult to make me angry. I have to be at that like my breaking point,
Yeah.
which is a lot further than most people. So I luckily I never really got angry. And I find getting angry at her out over our relationship, getting angry at her just makes everything worse. So I learned a long time ago not to get angry, but I definitely became more and more pathetic like as we went, like the neediness and the attachment and like the being tethered to this relationship was clear, and I just got deeper and deeper and deeper as the months progressed and as our relationship, when I found out obviously our relationship really crumbled after that, um, because of my neediness and because of how I was treating all of this, I just pushed her away. And as I pushed her away, I became worse. So the
Yeah. It's a
cycle, the
cycle.
negative cycle just kept going, kept going, kept going.
Yeah. Yeah. So what did she say to you? What was the reasons why she didn't want to continue the relationship? Besides, of course, the lack of safety, but like, what did she say to you? And how much hope was there in the beginning? Like, or so you think at least.
Well, so when she told me, when I found out in February, she told me all the things that every guy hears. I love you, but I'm not in love with you. I great guy, and everything is so good about you, but I can't be with you anymore. Like all the things, nothing of value. She told me nothing of value. It was just, it was essentially, it was like, I felt this way for a long
Again,
time
yeah.
and I just don't want to be with you. So I really had nothing to go on. I was,
Yeah.
I keep saying it, but I was so clueless as to
Yeah.
what I was
Good.
doing. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really,
And I think that's a challenging part too. Again, like they will never tell you that you never had safety. And,
yeah,
you know, a
yeah,
lot of times with a lot of our clients too, their partners tell them, hey, I see you changed, but I'm not going to be with you anymore. Right.
yeah,
Like people get there within the first week of joining the program. It's not hard to get your partner to say, I've seen you change, but the question is really, do they feel your changes in a very deep way? Do they
yes.
believe it's real? And that's the part where if you can make your partner believe that it's real, they won't say, I see your changes, but I'm not going to come back to you. So one thing that I think a lot of the listeners here are probably asking is, okay, so you were apart, you were long distance.
Yep.
How the heck did you save that relationship being long distance? Yeah.
So my wife is from the Philippines, and she had to return to the Philippines in at the end of July of this year. So when I found this out, this is in the period just after I found out about her not wanting to be together. I again was so needy about it and everything, and I was like, "Oh, I really wish I was going with you. I wish I could go back and see the family. Oh, I wish all this." So she was like, "Fine, you can come. Whatever. Just here's the plane ticket. You come." It was, you looking back on it now, I think it's that she wanted things to work out, but would never say that she wanted things to work out. So she had agreed to me going with her to the Philippines, and so that all happened. And just after the tickets were purchased and everything was when I found your program. So that was when everything changed. So I had already had the plan to go with her to the Philippines, and then I found the program. Then I found everything that I was doing wrong, and was able to really make a difference in what was happening, what was
Gotcha.
going on.
So out of the neediness, you begged her to go to the Philippines with her. She said she reluctantly agreed, of course, but then that's when you found the program. So what did you learn? And how much time was this between you finding the program and you having to go to your trip?
So I found out about her in February. I found the program, I believe, in April. So for maybe it was May, it might have been May. So for like 2 months, 3 months, I was being that needy guy. Then I found the program, and I just, you are so amazing on YouTube. You just made me feel like it was more than just like, this is what you need to do, but this is why you need to do it, which is what I found way better about watching your YouTube stuff than a lot of other people, because you have the science behind it, not just this is what you need to do, but as I say, it's like why you need to do it, understanding the human nature, understanding the brain, understanding all these really great nuances of relationships and whatnot, is more than I got from a lot of the other YouTube channels. So after going through the masterclass, it was a no-brainer. I'm in. Yeah, I needed to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so how much time did you have in the program, and like how much time did you have to practice the principles, to learn the principles before you saw your wife again in the Philippines at that point in time?
So this is where it kind of got exciting for me, because I was learning in the program, but my relationship was getting even worse and worse, to the point where she blocked me. She blocked me on social media. She blocked my phone number. She completely blocked me. And so I was unable to even talk to her at all. And we had no communication, I think, for about 2 weeks.
Mm.
And of course, because I'm even though I'm in the program, I'm still tethered. I'm still all these kind of things. So
Yeah.
my anxiety level was through the roof. I'm learning all this really great stuff and I want to execute it, but I can't execute it because I'm blocked. And it was, yeah, starting the program is so much information and so much amazing stuff that you get so anxious to practice it. And then when you're cut off, it's just frustrations through the
Yeah.
roof. But,
Yeah, and I think the thing that a lot of people don't understand too is how much of this program is internal, not just what you do and say. So, the first couple of months that people in this program, we tell them like, hey, focus all the shifts internally. This is about building your bulletproof
everything
vest.
should
This
be
is about being
internal.
untethered. This is about
Yeah.
building your identity, your self-esteem, all these things before you even try to start to talk.
Yeah.
So while you're retreating inwards, you're basically letting her confirmation bias, the negative ones, kind of run rampant.
Yes.
And that's probably what
Yeah.
led to the eventual blocking and her not wanting to do anything with you. Or was there more to it than that, you think?
We were just at a point where she was tired of
Mm.
me being so needy with her, me always wanting to talk to her, me wanting to do all these things. And um, even though I had just started the program, her confirmation bias was still too high that she ended up just, that's it. I have enough. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to
Yeah.
deal with you anymore.
Yeah. It's like,
So,
it's like what a lot of people do. You start a campaign, you start a conversation, and the first thing they say is, "There's no point in talking. We're done."
yeah.
And I don't want to talk about this anymore. I told you not to talk about the relationship. I told you we're done. We're getting a divorce. They even say sometimes, and we can talk about anything but about our relationship. Right. And that's really when that confirmation bias is so high. So you got blocked. Then what? I guess, how did you get unblocked and how did you start campaigns eventually?
So to get unblocked, I actually went to the community, and the amazing Facebook community that you have, very, very supportive people, and a really great group that help each other out. And I actually went to the community saying, like, I need to write an email, and I want to include all the stuff that I've been learning, and I want to make sure I'm doing this right, and everything. And I had a little bit of help from the community in establishing an email that went through the proper frameworks, that went through everything that I needed to say and the way I needed to say it. And I sent her the email, and she responded within a day. And sorry.
No worries, man.
I totally thought I had turned that off.
No worries.
My bad. Yeah, so I sent the email, I got the response back, and yeah, we started talking again. And that was about a month before we were going on the trip anyway. So all of our communication from then was like business related. It wasn't nothing relationship, nothing about us, nothing even like, hey, how was your day? Like anything like that. It was all just, this is what we have to do. This is the paperwork we need. This is, whatever. So yeah, the communication was pretty strained at that point. And if I ever tried to, she wouldn't take my calls. So the only way that we could talk really was text messaging, which, as you know, is not a great form of communication. And even if I tried voice messages, irrelevant. She would just text me back. She never responded to any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So at this point, she seems pretty checked out. Like, very checked out. I mean, I think we've established this. What drove you to keep fighting? Not only for the relationship, but also keep going with the internal shifts, because the hard part is that the internal shifts, you don't see that manifest immediately, right? It takes a long time for people to see it, for people to understand your changes, etc. What kept you going? What was your motivation?
Well, there's a couple of things. Like my motivation for me was I understood by this time I had gone through all of the modules, not all of them, but like the first series of modules, some of the second ones, and I understand. I at that point I understood everything that you were saying. A lot of it was um, certain habits and stuff that I had already, but I didn't know why. It explained a lot of stuff for me that it was really easy for me to put the pieces together and say, now this makes sense. Now I know why I think this way. Now I know what I need to do to create these levels of myself. So your program really helped me put the pieces together, and it just made sense for me to continue with it, whether because at that point it's not about the relationship anymore, it's about me. And so I wanted to continue with what I was doing because it was good. It was good for me. It's good to create that, as you say, the mental shifts, the changes within myself that only help in everything that you do every day. So it
Yeah,
just made
yeah.
sense to keep
Gotcha.
going. As for my wife, the program also taught me that a lot of what happened with my wife was my fault. I wasn't giving her the attention she needed. I wasn't listening when she tried to tell me things. And I think that's really essential to, obviously a relationship. You need to listen. You need to understand that she's trying to tell you something and you need to figure out what she's trying to tell you. And I didn't do that for years. I didn't do that. I was
Yeah.
always the fix it. You tell me something, okay, I'll fix it. Okay, I'll fix it. But that's not what she wants. She wants you to understand. She wants you to listen. She wants you to hear what she's saying. And I never did that. So
Yeah.
um, I wanted to fix the relationship because I knew as I'm becoming my better self and I want to listen to her and I want to fix the relationship because I think that when we were together, when things were good, we were really good. Like we were a really good match. So it just made sense to me not to throw this away in any
Mm.
way. It should be fixed, not dismissed.
Yeah. And I get, a lot of men who are probably watching this will hear the story and go, and they usually have this attitude of if, let's say your partner wants to leave, doesn't want the relationship, the attitude is, oh, I'm a high value person. I deserve better. If you don't want me at my worst, then you don't get me. Screw you. I'll find someone better. How come you
Yes.
didn't take that approach? Like what made you realize that, hey, this could be me and I want to fix me regardless of what happens in the relationship?
Well, I think it was pretty easy for me to ask myself how was my contribution to this fallout? A lot of people don't like to look within themselves and say like, what is my part in this? What is my, like, how am I, uh, what did I do to create this scenario in the first place? But I've always liked to say, you know what, maybe this situation isn't just them, maybe it's me. Like maybe like I train people and I've had a bunch of people who I didn't get along well. And whenever I don't get along well with someone, I ask myself, is it me? Is it me that's the problem or is it them? And
Mm.
sometimes it turns out to be them, but sometimes it turns out to be me. So when I started the program and I saw all the things in our program that says, this is what you're doing wrong, this is what you're doing wrong, this is what you're doing wrong, I'm like, holy crap, am I doing these things wrong? Well, I think I am. So it was a pretty easy thing for me to come to say like my contribution to this falling apart was as much hers if not more. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you brought up a good point earlier, which is when we go back into the conversation of what was your motivation for keep to continue to go despite the fact that things were getting worse in the beginning at the very least. And I think back to kind of my journey in my own relationship and even my business too. It's a difference really between principles-based confidence versus just reference-based confidence, right? It's
Right.
or outcome-based confidence. It's where a lot of people they source their confidence on, oh, my partner doesn't want to try, or this is not working. My motivation for it dies out. But here, I think what we're trying to do, and the reason why the program is so long, like you mentioned, is I'm trying to get you to understand the deeper principles so that your conviction is based on principles, that the outcome can be like up or down, but okay, I know why this is right. I know why I should keep doing this. And if I keep doing this, it's going to work out eventually. If I just trust it, trust the principles, trust the process. Did it take you long for you to develop that? Or is that something that you struggled with in the beginning as well?
Well, I'd like to say that I didn't really struggle with it. I've done a lot of things in my life that require, like I've owned my own business for 25 years. I traveled a lot of the world. There's a lot of things that I've done that I think I've had to do a lot of analyzing of the people around me, of myself, of like all these things. I understand principles, or I understand that procedures and stuff are required to gain success. So when I was introduced to the program and you sort of lay it out, like you have to follow these procedures, you have to do these things to create these results, it just makes sense, because that's how I do everything. That's how you start a business. That's how you run a business. That's how you do whatever. I just never applied it to a relationship.
Gotcha.
So
yeah.
It was like the light bulb just goes off and you're like, well, that makes sense. If everything else in the world works this way, why wouldn't a relationship work this way?
Yeah. It's interesting you say that, because the more I do this, the more I realize the success principles in life is the same. Like,
yes,
we get some people saying, for example, oh, I'm successful at work, but not successful in the relationship. Well, maybe if that's the case, either you don't understand the principles behind your success too well in your business, or you don't know how to like translate that and really extrapolate it into the bigger picture of life in general. That's awesome.
And I think that's where I was lacking and the program really opened that up for me, to the point where I was able to understand more that if I apply these principles of, all the other things I'm doing in my life, if I apply these things now to myself, now to my relationship, then it should, like you say, success is almost guaranteed as long as you follow the principles, right? So
yeah. Okay, so you eventually met her again in the Philippines.
Yes.
Or how did that go?
So here's where I think that I got really lucky, more so than some of the other people that I've met in the program. When we went to the Philippines, we were quarantined, and I know we had gone back and forth a whole bunch of times where she's like, "Get your own hotel room. I don't want to be in the same hotel room as you." And then she was like, we'll get one hotel room, we'll save money. Like, if you pay for half the hotel room, then I don't have to pay as much, and blah, blah. She went back and forth like this for like 2 weeks. And then finally, as we're going, and the whole time I don't know what she wants. I'm just going, okay. And then she says, do this. I'm going, okay. So we're flying there, and I don't know what she wants. I don't know if she wants me in my own hotel room, if to share a room, whatever. So we get there, and then it ends up that we were in the same hotel room. We had different beds, but we were in the same hotel room. So now we're quarantined for 10 days together in the same room. She hates me, and she's verbally telling me, I hate you. I don't want, like I tried to sit close to her once on the same bed. She's like, I don't want you on my bed. Go over there. Dude, like, just leave me alone. Don't talk to me. Don't whatever.
Yeah.
We would, because we were there for 10 days, and we ended up like playing cards, or, like stuff like that. And she's like, don't think that just because I'm playing cards with you, I like you. Like she would actually say this.
She would actively tell you, any nice thing I'm doing, this is not to get back together.
Yeah, exactly. She was
Yeah.
brutal, like absolutely brutal. And the whole time I have to have the smile and be like, yeah, okay, I get it. It's all good. I understand. I'm not trying to push whatever. But I would listen. I would listen to what she was saying, and I would acknowledge what she was saying. And I would say, I understand. I understand that you're really angry with me and you're in a situation that we're stuck together. I understand. And it as I would listen, the more she would open up, the more she would say things that were hurtful or that were like, I can't believe this time that you did this. And I'd be like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's the
I
beautiful
hear you.
thing.
And then now I'm
Yeah.
understanding more from your point of view. Like, that would have really sucked. Like, you know.
Yeah. I think I
So
want to point out a couple of things here for the listeners too. Is like, you know, obviously people don't join the program if their situation wasn't dire, right? I mean, yours was pretty dire as well.
yes.
And when you're in a dire situation like that, you're going to face a lot of resistance, a lot of really tough truths, a lot of difficult moments that make you want to go, you know what, what's the point of this? It's really hard to lean in to your partner's conversation, to listening to her when she's telling you how much you messed up. She's giving you tough words about yourself, about she's punishing you, she's gaslighting. I mean, there's so much going on, you know? But that's what I think we try to focus on in this program is take the negative and basically you have the feedback loop, your partner and you. What your partner does affect what you do. What you do affects what your partner does. Usually what happens is people let what their partner does affect them. Then they react to that, which makes their partner even more angry, which makes them even more angry. And what we do is we say, look, if your partner wants to start this in a negative way, great. Let's internally shift that from negative to positive, and let's externally shift that into from negative to positive. And one of the ways we do that is really teaching people how to listen, understand, and make their partner feel deeply understood as well. And that's the key to creating safety. But I guess like when you talk about listening, what were the differences in the ways that after you did the program that you started to listen versus how you listened before? Like what was so special about this listening that made all the difference, it seems like?
Well, when I started everything, I created an inner mantra for myself that was just simple: listen, don't fix. Listen, don't fix. Listen, don't fix. And I would say it every morning in the shower. I'd say it every night before I go to bed. I'd say it like it's everything. And because I'm such a fixer, I'd always want to fix everything. And I think most men are. They want to fix. And so when we're in this situation, we're in this room, and she starts really like she was brutal. Like she's always been very like, because English is her second language, she's very direct with her with how she speaks, and it can be really brutal. And when she's angry, she's even more brutal. So she would really come out with like really harsh truths, and I would be like, yeah, I get it. Tell me more. I think, what would Geoffrey say? He would say, tell me more. So, so I would say, yeah, like I see that. I see that you're, angry that I spent money on something, or that I never told you how much I make, or, that we never really talked about having a child, or like all these sort of things. And I never tried to fix anything, not once. I never tried to explain myself, never tried to say like, well, this is why, or anything like that. I just was like,
Yeah.
I understand. I get it.
Yeah, that's the beautiful
I
part.
see
It's
where you're
like
coming from.
I think for a lot of men, if they're in a conversation where they just listened and just paraphrased in a proper way, in a deep way, but didn't come to any solutions, they would say, what a failure of a conversation, what a waste of time,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
But they don't
not
understand
at
just
all.
how powerful that is, But so it's not just about you understanding through your questions, but you being able to speak and and bounce it off your partner in a way where she feels understood in a deep way. And that's really the art of it. That's where the complexity lies, is how do we listen for the right thing, and how do we paraphrase the right thing as well? That's really difficult for people to grasp because it's such a soft thing, you know?
Yeah. It's I think it's really, a lot of people have that difficulty understanding exactly how the way that you speak to somebody, it's not just the words, it's so much more. It's so much more in your inflection, in your tone, in like all these things that you're saying to somebody. You can be um I, I like, so when we would talk, I'd be leaning forward. I'd be like, please tell me more. Tell me more about what you're saying. Not all backed off and like, wow, I can't believe you're saying this stuff about me, or like whatever. It's like please, I want to know. I want to know. And I think she really she really appreciated that I would just listen. And it got to the point where after, I think it was on the fifth day, I think it was on the fifth day, she got into my bed at night.
So this was, okay, I'm actually going to change my speaker here. One sec. All right, you can still hear me, right?
Yeah, perfect.
So this was, you were basically there for 10 days.
10 days.
And by the fifth day, you created so much safety in person in 5 days.
In 5 days.
She decided to sleep in the same bed with you.
Yes. Not all night, but for several hours.
Yeah.
Which was amazing.
Yeah. So I want to go back really fast to that 5 days first, before we really talk about the transformation here. I want to talk about, you talk about listening and being able to really, what we say, dance in the conversation in the proper way. And how we talk about there needs to be so much, you need to be master of your micro expressions, your microtones, the subtlest things. That's something you can't fake, right? That's where the internal shifts really need to matter, where you need to have all the changes become a part of you. And that's why we, a lot of our clients spend three, sometimes 6 months just focusing on the internal shifts, so they can be a person who can do all these external things in an effortless way. During a conversation, you're going to have a ton of interpretations, a ton of thoughts, especially when your partner is giving you so much crap. I mean, a lot of people, I think that's where they fail, right? They say one thing right. They get a couple of, it's almost like a tennis match. They get a couple of rallies going.
Yeah.
And then their partner says something and they lose their bulletproof vest. They interpret it wrong. And then they just lose it. Right? Yeah. How difficult was that for you? Like, because 5 days is a long time to be in this position, right?
Well, okay, so this is one of the things that happened. So after the fifth day, she was going through my phone, and because confirmation bias, all these kind of things. She wants to know what I'm doing. She wants to know what happened in my life, all this sort of thing. She was going through my phone and she saw a bunch of messages in my phone that she didn't like to some of my friends about our relationship. And she lost it. She totally, absolutely lost it, to the point where she's yelling, she's screaming. She left the room, which is you're in quarantine, you can't leave. She left the room. She left the hotel. She was so mad at me. And so the whole time I had to be like, okay, I get it. I know you're mad. I know I shouldn't have said this. It's like, you want to explain. You want to be like, I was in a bad spot. I just found out that you don't want to be with me. Of course I'm going to tell my friends. Think about it. Use logic. But no, I had to not do any of that. And I had to be, I don't want to say submissive, but I needed to be understanding, to the point where I had to let her go and not try and chase her. I had to say, I know you need to work out these things. I know that you're so angry that you need to deal with this. So I think it's really hard for people to get to that point. Like it's a very difficult mindset to achieve where, like I say, you just naturally want to fight to make it better. And it's sort of fighting against all your own human nature to take a step back and say, she needs this. She needs this space. She needs this time to vent, to be angry, to deal with her emotions. And if I just get in there and be all stupid about it, I'm just going to make it worse. I'm going to make her emotions worse.
That's really beautiful put. And I think that's where a lot of people don't understand too is, you know, if we were to analyze the play-by-play of what happened and your partner finding something that she didn't like and she blew up on you, that is really her also subconsciously trying to understand and feel your changes, because she wants to know, like, is this guy faking it, or is this guy for real?
Yeah.
So if she, and people don't do this consciously. This is a very subconscious thing that people do, to where if you are wanting to emotionally feel someone else's changes, you want to subconsciously make it hard for them, because we know that if we make it hard, are they going to be going back to the old self, or is this just a ruse? Is this just a character that you play for a bit?
Right.
So when she makes it hard on you, and you did a great job of just staying the course and keeping with your new self, that's when she really gets to feel, okay, I've given him every reason to F up.
To lose
it. Doesn't. But it doesn't. Man, these changes must be real. But that's where a lot of people miss, and it's a shame. And feel free to speak to this too, is, you know, we talk about the thriving mindset and the surviving mindset, or the surviving approach and the thriving approach. And you talked about how a lot of the stuff we teach is not human. It's not human nature to think this way, to operate in this way. But success is not human nature, right? Like,
it isn't.
It's really the 1%. And if you look at the 1% of athletes, the 1% of anything in life, the harder things get. Like if you look at LeBron James, the harder things get, the more he gets better. Well, for a lot of people, they operate with this surviving mindset where, as things gets harder, if it gets hard enough, they crumble. It's like they're using their willpower to like keep it afloat. While the thriving people are just like, oh, things get difficult, let me rise even more. And that's the part that people don't understand. And a lot of the subconscious illusions and trickeries and the bad stories that come to your head happens during the hardest moments. It's when your partner is really stonewalling you and gaslighting you really, really intensely. That's when you want to tell yourself, screw this crap. Right?
I don't deserve this.
But it's so easy in just hard moments to just go the old way. And the reason why we program this mindset so deeply is that during the hard moments, your default should be the correct way, right? Yeah.
So it was intense. After she found out, after she read those messages, she kind of went back to how she was when we first got together. And she was like totally standoffish, don't come near me, don't whatever. So yeah, we ended up, I looked at it like how to say, you had a really great graph in one of your videos, and it's like up and down, but the base curve is going up. So
climate versus weather, right? Today might be rainy, today might be sunny, tomorrow might be rainy, then it could be hurricaning, but if you look at it long term, is it going up or down? Right, the climate.
Well, here's what the way I saw it was, it took 5 days for her to come close to me. Then she got really angry at me. After that, it only took 4 days for her to come close to me again. So it was, you could see the progression in how she was going. Like you could visibly see that she would lose a lot of her hostility. She would become more, it wasn't gone. Like, don't get me wrong. It's not like magic and all of a sudden it was great. It was still, she was pretty rough on me for many days.
But again, the roughness there, she needs to do that because she needs to feel that. She needs to do that. Her subconscious needs to get it to a hard position, because without that, she can never really feel like, is this real or not? right? She's never hit, like if you never hit rock bottom, you don't know what that feels like, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So after the 10 days, we left Manila and we ended up going to her hometown where we were expected to do another 4 days of quarantine. And when we got there, they told us, oh, yeah, so 14 days quarantine.
So additional 14 days.
An additional 14 days of quarantine in her hometown. And we're like, what? Like, that's crazy. So, yeah, so again, we're quarantined even further. Only this time we're with her daughter because her daughter came with us from Manila to her hometown. So now the three of us have to be quarantined together for 14 days to, for the whole COVID thing. So again, I look at it like, wow, I'm so lucky because now not only do I get to show myself to her, but I get to show myself to her daughter in front of her, being like double bonus. This is great. And yeah, we spent the next actually we really only spent the next like 5 days in quarantine, and then she was like, I can't do this anymore, we're going. So don't tell anyone.
No, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it was good. Those days we spent I was able to spend a lot more time building things up. And it's not like everything was great because there was another incident that happened like 3 or 4 days into our quarantine there where she again found something on my phone that I totally forgot was there, where I was talking to another girl back when I thought our relationship was done. Over.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I didn't actually reach out. She reached out. She happened to reach out to me at the right time. And my wife found those messages and totally lost it, like absolutely lost it. And
you know what's funny, Spencer? It's like when your partner finds out something like that and she loses it, a lot of men would be very upset at that, right?
Yeah.
But that's the crux of safety. The very fact that she has the freedom and the safety to get angry at you, to tell you what her true feelings are, it takes a very reformed man to be able to look at that and go, this is an opportunity. This is her telling me something. I could learn a lot from this, and I could create a ton of safety if I understand how to handle this in a proper way. And I think that's what you did.
Great.
It's such a topsy-turvy way of thinking, but it's beautiful when you understand the little principles. And I think it's funny too, while you're telling your story, I can already see some people like saying, oh, then the only reason you got together again was because you got lucky with the quarantine.
Yeah. Well,
what would you say to people like that? I mean,
okay, so I think in certain aspects, I did get lucky because we were forced to be together 24 hours a day for 10 days, which means I'm in her face and she can't leave. Well, I mean, she did, but she's not supposed to, right?
But that could be a double-edged sword, right?
Oh, very much.
Like they could if you don't have the right internal shifts, that could backfire hard.
Oh, it could have been. It could have been horrible.
Really bad.
I was looking forward to it because I wanted her to get angry at me. I wanted her to express these things because I know that's when she expresses. She's always been that way. She's not much of a talker. She's never been much of a talker unless she's angry. And that's when it all comes out. So for me, it was a really great opportunity because I knew she would be terrible to me. I knew that she would like really test me and really push me to my limits. And it was such a great opportunity for me to not give up because I can't. Like, I mean, where am I going to go? Where's she going to go? It's like, So there was a certain side of luck to it, but I also know there's lots of other people in really bad situations who live with their wife still,
and they can't make it work.
I did, because I don't live with my wife. My wife is like several thousand miles away from me. So
So let me put so let me put this speaker back on. Sorry to keep up going back and forth. I want to make sure there's no echo as well. Audio, but let it charge a bit, All right. All right. I think we're back. So yeah, I think we're almost running out of time here. So I want to get
Yeah.
to also, where are you guys now? Like, what's the status now? What kind of behavior is she doing, etc.?
Okay, so we spent 2 months together in the Philippines, and we were together every day, all day, for 2 months. And it was so up and down. It was like some days are good, some days are bad. She's like reaching out to friends to like fill this void that she's not getting from me, and sometimes she would ignore me for like most of the day, and other times she would be super nice. We would cuddle, we would like sit together, we would, it was really up and down. Like there was no, the whole time there was nothing secure about anything. I had to flow like water the entire time, because if she was being all nice and cuddly, I had to be all nice and cuddly. If she was being all cold and I hate you, then I had to be like, that's okay, I can do my own thing. Like you have to go with it.
Yeah.
You have to go with wherever her emotions take you. And so we were there for 2 months. By the end of the 2 months, I'd say we were pretty good. Like nothing was concrete. Like it's not like, yes, we are together, we are doing this, we are whatever, whatever. But we're talking about the future. We're talking about what we're going to be doing next year. We're talking about vacations that we want to take, all these sort of things without putting labels on it. So I'm not pressuring her. I'm not giving her this, I need to know what you want, I need to know
Yeah.
what our relationship is. Like none of that was in
Yeah, it's
there.
really funny, Spencer, you say that, because one of the questions that I get a lot and I don't know how to answer, and I think it's kind of a silly question, is like, Jeff, what's your success rate? I'm like, I don't think that's how like reconciliation works. Like, it's not like one day you decide, let's reconcile,
Right.
because like that's like measuring the success of a relationship by, did you get married or not? It's like, no, it depends on so many softer things. It's a gray area. It's a scale of how much
Yeah.
are you thriving. You could get
Yeah.
married, you could reconcile, but you could not be thriving. It doesn't really make
Oh,
sense. How do you measure
very
that
much
then?
so.
A lot of people like say, oh, 77% success rate. How do you measure that? I don't
Yeah.
understand, and I think what you're saying also is like, I don't think we officially said we reconciled, but
No, not
we
at
act
all.
like it. We act like it. We
Yeah.
talk about the future together. We
Yeah.
yeah. It's
We
interesting.
make plans. We're like, we amalgamated our bank accounts. We like share our money. We share all our thoughts, like everything. So after we came back from the Philippines, she came to my island with me, which for 2 years, she was not interested in doing at all. So
Mhm.
she essentially dropped everything and came out to my isolated area for 2 weeks. And she's not an isolated person. She's a very, very social person. She needs friends. She needs to go out. She needs movies. She needs events. She needs all these things in her life that she's always been very interested in. She's Filipino. So she's very, very, very social. And coming out to a place where there is literally no one, like no one. I live by myself on an island where there is no other people, there's no visitors, no nothing. I am essentially alone forever at this place. And she came out, and we spent 2 weeks together. And after those 2 weeks, she said, okay, I'll move there.
You know, this is beautiful because like she's literally saying to you, I will voluntarily choose to be with you,
Yep.
especially if you're the only person. I don't care if you're the only person on earth and I have to leave civilization to get
Yeah.
to become me and you.
Yeah.
Like, you create so much safety. to the point where she can say that. That's mind-blowing in 5
Yeah.
months.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, it is.
I'm like weeping just thinking about that. It's just so beautiful. It's just, my
Me
God.
too. Terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I want
So
to stress this too. Like you mentioned, she was gaslighting. She was really mean to you. She said a lot of tough truths, a lot of difficult things, a lot of non-committal things. Went away.
yeah, most of it is. I mean,
Most
we're
of it.
not perfect. I'm not saying
Yeah,
that
of course. No. Yeah.
we're off into the sunset and everything is wonderful and whatnot. We still have things that we need to work out. I have
Of
things I
course.
need to work out for me. I need certain things that I know I need to refine in my
Yeah.
own processes. So
It's because it's only been
um,
5 months.
it's only been
It's
exactly. It's
only
only
been
been
five
5 months.
months.
It's not waving the golden wand and all of a sudden everything is good. But we're on the right track. And she did leave after the 2 weeks, which was just a couple of days ago. Um, but the plan is that we will be bringing her daughter from the Philippines back to Canada, and the two of them will come and live with me in isolation. And it's it's an ongoing plan. We don't have exact dates or anything, and who knows? Maybe everything will fall apart. I can't say. But if if things do end up not working out, I know that I'm on the right track for me. I'm in the right program, and whatever happens, I can deal with it. And that's what is so amazing about this program. Not only did it help me get my relationship back, but it built me to such an individual that I'm strong enough that I know even if it didn't work out, I would be okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I could move on into another relationship, or I could move on into no other relationship. I don't need another relationship to be like the best that I can be.
Whole. Yeah.
Exactly. I don't need all of that to be whole anymore. The program taught me so much about myself that yeah, of course I want to be with my wife. Of course I want to be with my family. Of course I want all this to work out. But my life isn't tethered to that outcome,
Yeah.
which is what's amazing about all of this.
Yeah. I think a couple of things too. From my side, I had to evolve my thinking about how I deal with my program too. In the beginning, it was when I marketed my program, for example, it was always like, I can help you save your relationship. But as I watched, close to 1,000 people now in the group, I realized that saving the relationship is almost like a natural artifact. It's just like, it's a given. Like these guys are so obsessed about changing, about becoming
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
And if you rise so high, the getting the relationship back is a given, right? And even
Yep.
if you don't get it back, but like you said, I think the important part is that you feel like you're now steering the ship.
Yeah.
Like you see the things that are happening in your relationship, and in the back of your head, you go, it could fall apart, it could crash still. But you don't think like when you're driving a car, for example, you don't think like, oh, I hope I don't crash today. It's like, no, I can feel it steering. If I see my car we wavering a bit, if I see traffic going around and conflict going around, you can know how to
You can fix
navigate
it.
that. And
Yeah.
that's such a nice feeling, right?
Yes. Yes. Very
Yeah.
much so.
Yeah. And last thing too is a lot of people don't get this. Behaviors, people say, oh, you can't change someone's behavior. You can't change someone. That's not true. Because when you change your behavior, you'll be very shocked at how much your partner's behavior changes as well. Because it's
Yes.
part of a massive feedback loop. And people are already doing this where their bad behavior is causing their partner to react in a bad way. You're already influencing someone's behavior in a bad way. Why not learn how to do it in a positive way?
Oh, yes. It was so amazing. Like I can't even begin to tell you, seeing, like physically seeing the difference in how my wife reacts to things, and seeing the difference in how in her changes to me as as I'm creating this safety. Like it was such a visible difference in her entire personality in how she dealt with everything, not just me, but with people around her and whatnot. Like it was so amazing to see these things change as the months progressed and as we spent all this time together, and as I stopped trying to fix. And it just came to the point where I was able to create scenarios where we were both happy. Now we're building a house in the Philippines, and like everything that happens, she calls me. She's like, "So, what do you think? The living room gray or dark gray?" Like, what? And before it would just be she would do whatever she wants, but
Yeah.
now it's like everything is like, "How should we do this? How should we do this? Let's do this together. Let's do this as a, what do you think? What's
Mm.
your opinion?" And my response is usually the same. I really like the gray, but what do you think? How do you feel about it? What's your
It's
choice?
a collaboration. It's a team now.
Exactly.
It's beautiful.
It's a
Yeah.
total team effort now, which
Yeah.
is awesome, which is how it should be.
Yeah. So if you could summarize, I know this is hard. This is always hard for people to do because there's so much we learn in the program, but three biggest takeaways.
Oh yeah, I saw you do this to Jason, and I thought, oh, I gotta come up with three things. Okay, so I think I think really the biggest thing is understanding that as an individual you can change. Your life is not decided for you by your upbringing. Your life is not decided for you by your friends. Your life is not decided for you by your work environment. Your life is decided for you by you. And you can make these changes. You can make fundamental mind shifts if you follow the correct procedures, if you follow the process. And I think that's like the biggest that's my biggest takeaway from this for sure. Um, if you want to succeed in anything, whether it's your relationship, whether it's your family, whether it's your job, um, know and understand what principles are needed for that success, because not everything is exactly the same. I mean, there's some of the concepts are the same, of course, but apply those concepts to what you're doing so that you can. I know you put this really well in one of your modules, and I'm really terrible at um,
No, it's I think the hard part is, the principles that we teach is very much a gray area. And we always say to our students, don't embrace the extremes for one, right? So it's not about, let's say, do I do no contact? Do I do contact? Do I do this? Do I do smart contact? It's like all the what stuff doesn't really matter. It's the how, right? Now,
yeah.
when you want to go to the how, you cannot go with what other people are telling you. Like, oh, because my therapist said so, I'm going to do this. You have to break things down to the science and really have a good basis for why you believe something is right, and the principles behind what you do as well. Because if you don't have the solid principles, you cannot dance, you cannot improvise. You'll always be thinking, well, what did my therapist tell me to do? And if your situation somehow doesn't fit that advice, and you do, and you
Yeah,
follow that, and it's like, you don't even know you're making a mistake. You think you're doing the right
yeah,
thing because you don't have the principles to guide the way you improvise. It's like, for example, too, a lot of therapists would say, you know, first thing you need to do is set boundaries, right? And second thing you need to do is don't talk about difficult things. Don't
yeah,
Just
yeah,
keep it light. Keep it light. Well, let's look at the principles. The principles say, well, if your partner is having a very negative confirmation bias towards you, if you don't have the difficult conversations, she will never change her mind.
yeah,
And she will never tell you about the fact that she's not changing her mind. In fact, it's going to get worse. So if
yeah,
you look at that principle and you ask yourself, Does smart contact work? Does no contact work? Hell no, right? And you can know that for sure. You can be confident in that because you're not thinking by a reference-based thinking, but by principles-based, right? The fundamental truths.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what you're referring to is like, you just know how to dance. You just know how to drive the ship, right?
Yeah. Understand that your scenario is a little bit different from his scenario, from their scenario, to apply those principles to what you're doing to your particular situation.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like no matter what you're facing, the principles stay the same. It's your job to improvise the principles, using the principles to your approach. And once you understand that, you realize that that's why people say in the program, your situation is not unique, bro. You could stop thinking that, right?
Well, that was going to be my number 3. That was my third thing is I understand now, because obviously when I found out, I was like, oh my God, my life is so, nobody's going to understand what I'm going through because this is so unique. I live alone, long distance relationship, blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking like, I'm the only one ever facing this scenario. You're not. Your situation is definitely not unique. My situation is not unique. And anybody watching this video who is feeling that utter hopelessness, thinking that nobody has ever experienced what they're experiencing, I guarantee you it's not unique. And nothing changes in the process to fix it. So what I did wasn't unique. It's what I did was I followed the principles, I understood the principles, and I applied them to my particular situation, and I was able to overcome obstacles and get to a point where I'm comfortable with my wife. I don't need a label. I don't need to say we are XYZ. I don't need that because I'm comfortable in our relationship. I'm comfortable in our dialogue. I'm comfortable in our direction. So labels are irrelevant. And
doesn't change what you do.
Situation
right?
Isn't unique either. So
it
all goes to, it can all be achieved if you follow the right principles.
Yeah, it's like the labels don't really change what you do. It's like some people, I think they want to get the answer of like, are we together yet? So much because secretly they're wanting to stop the process. It's like they're trying to get an excuse like, okay, now I can relax. But for you, it's like, I don't care if we get back together or not. It doesn't change what I do. It doesn't change the fact that I'm going to go hard every day on focusing on the right principles to really become the best version of myself.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Exactly. Spencer, thank you so much for taking the time. That was incredible.
I mean,
rarely do I shed a tear during an interview, but it's amazing. I want to see and hear more from your stories. Of course, I'm going to see and hear more from you, but yeah, that's it. Thank you.
No problem. I really appreciate the opportunity. I'm glad to tell you my story. I'm glad to tell your viewers my story. I hope that it helps change someone's mind or helps, solidify their own thoughts. I'll tell you, when I went through the masterclass, it for me, it was 100% a no-brainer. Like it just all made sense. Everything that you said in the masterclass was so bang on that, it just made sense. So, yeah.
Awesome. Spencer, I'll leave you to it. Thank you.
Thank you.